You have heard the whisper, "Rise early and you will win the day." But you have not yet felt the full meaning of that whisper. The 1% do not treat dawn as a habit. They treat it as a weapon. I tell you now, the hour before 5 is not merely time reclaimed. It is a crucible where character is forged, plans are formed, and destiny is enlisted to your command. If you will learn what the wealthy already know, listen closely, for this is not a trick, but a law. Picture your life as it is: scattered mornings, a hurried walk into duty, the small panic at noon when bills still hang like clouds. You chase the day. You are led by the calendar. You react. Meanwhile, there walks a certain class of man who commands his hours. He awakens before the world demands him, and by the time the crowd rises, he has already won the first battles. He has planned, he has decided, he has prepared. That difference, a single hour carved from silence, multiplies itself into advantage after advantage until his outcomes dwarf those of the man who sleeps in. Do not mistake this for mere industriousness. The early hour is the mind's closest access to the infinite, the silent power I have described in my lessons. In the dark, before noise and opinion invade, your mind is like a clean field ready for seed. Plant there with intent, and you will harvest where others find only weeds. The 1% know how to plant. They visualize with precision. They declare with feeling. They set their day by law, not by accident. Now hear me plainly. If you continue to surrender that hour to drift, you do more than lose time. You train your mind to expect drift. You condition your spirit to accept mediocrity. The longer you sleep through opportunity, the more your courage grows cold and your ideas wither on the vine. That is the hidden cost of late rising. Not the lost minutes, but the slow erosion of resolve. Men who awake late will tell you they are busy. Men who awake before 5 will tell you they are deliberate. Which would you prefer to be? I have seen what early waking produces. It produces clarity in decision, speed in action, and a magnetism of confidence. It produces a morning mind that already believes victory is coming. Imagine this. While others clutch their first coffee and react to the day, you have already read your purpose aloud, sharpened your plan, and asked the deepest part of your mind for guidance. Ideas that appear to others as accidents will come to you as answers. People will call it luck. I call it law. This law obeys 3 simple duties: silence, definite purpose, and repetition. First, silence. The world must be quiet for the infinite to speak. Rise while the house sleeps. Rise before the market's noise rises to drown your thought. Second, definite purpose. Set one chief aim for the day and make every action serve it. The 1% do not scatter. They concentrate until the world compresses into a corridor that leads straight to their goal. Third, repetition. Repeat your decision until the subconscious accepts it as fact. The early hours are when repetition becomes ritual and ritual becomes habit. Allow me to show you how a single morning can change a life. Begin with command. Before you speak to another soul, speak to yourself. Read aloud your chief aim. Visualize it until your muscles feel it is true. Then plan the one decisive act that will move that aim toward fulfillment before noon. Execute it. When you build days like this, weeks become stairs and months become mountains climbed. The 1% do this not by occasional zeal, but by daily law. Do not join this practice for vanity, not for applause. Do it because it reshapes the man you are. Self-discipline is not punishment. It is the recovery of respect for your own time. To rise early is to tell your subconscious, I am worth the investment. The mind answers with energy, attention, and resolve. And the world, which always obeys men who command themselves, begins to rearrange opportunities in response. I know your objections already. I'm tired. My schedule won't allow it. I need the sleep. All of these are arguments from the old self trying to preserve ease. Let me answer with what the 1% know by practice. The quality of your sleep is far less important than the quality of your waking. Men who rise with purpose sleep differently. Their rest is deeper because their mind has been disciplined to use the black hours for restoration and creation. Start small if you must. Shave minutes off your habit until you own the hour. Consistency creates appetite for discipline. There is also a moral consequence. The man who trains himself to rise before others cultivates authority in his spirit. Authority attracts allies, opportunities, and the deference of men who sense a higher resolve. People prefer to follow certainty. They trust a man who is already at work on behalf of his purpose. In industry, in business, in leadership, the sound of readiness is louder than any marketing. The early riser has already written his message into the morning before words are exchanged. And why is this truth hidden from the many? Because most men mistake busyness for progress. They confuse motion with direction. The 1% do the opposite. They subtract the unnecessary and amplify the vital. That subtraction begins with 1 hour reclaimed from the crowd. In that hour, you will cut through clutter, make decisions, and build momentum that compounds. 72 hours a week of frantic activity cannot match 90 purposeful hours of disciplined work. Measure less by quantity and more by concentration. If you will commit, here are the exact rituals the 1% use and that I advise you to adopt. 1. Wake with a command. Do not lie in bed negotiating with weakness. 2. Begin with silence and gratitude. Acknowledge a higher intelligence and align your desire to serve it. 3. Read your definite chief. Aim aloud and visualize its success vividly. Plan one bold action to complete before noon. 5. Spend 20 minutes on study that advances your craft. The 1% always outlearn the crowd. 6. Close the hour with a short written task. Note one insight, one contact to make, one correction. Repeat daily until the rhythm is law. Now imagine 90 days of such mornings. Imagine 3 months of waking at the same hour and executing the same ritual. Your mind will change first, then your habits, then your results. Friends will ask what happened. Colleagues will whisper that you changed overnight. You will smile because you know that it was not overnight. It was the accumulation of small, deliberate acts performed while others slept. This is how empires are built, not by sudden genius, but by repeated mastery of small hours. I will not shelter you from difficulty. Discipline demands cost. You will face resistance, tiredness at first, the jibes of friends who call you fanatic, the temptation to return to ease. Let them mock. Let them rest in their drift. You have been given a map. Follow it. You will be surprised who begins to notice you, not because you shouted louder, but because you became steadier. The world always follows the steady hand. Finally, understand the spiritual dimension? The mind that is trained to meet the dawn learns to receive guidance. When you rise before the rush, you invite the silent suggestions that change a life. The great inventions, the decisive ideas, the sudden opportunities, they come to minds prepared to receive them. Be such a mind. Wake before 5 not as a chore, but as a summons. The infinite intelligence speaks in the early hours. Be listening. Decide now, not tomorrow, not next week. Decide that from this morning forward, you will own the pre-dawn. Decide that you will make that hour sacred, a place of planning, prayer, problem-solving, and preparation. Keep your purpose definite. Repeat your decision until it is authority. Walk into the day as one who has already triumphed in the dark. The 1% are not born privileged, they are disciplined. Rise with them, and in time the world will rise to meet you. There is an hour, my friend, when the air still trembles with the residue of dreams, when the world has not yet awakened to its noise and confusion. That hour belongs not to the clock, but to the mind that reaches for it first. In that silent stretch before sunrise, all power lies waiting, unclaimed, untamed, and obedient only to the man who dares to rise and command it. The difference between the few who rule and the many who follow is not intelligence, nor birth, nor circumstance. It is order. The 1% have learned that mastery begins before motion. They rise not merely to work, but to direct. The rest awake to demands. The superior man awakens to design. His first act each morning is not reaction, but decision. To awaken before 5 is not superstition. It is obedience to law. It is the act of stepping into harmony with infinite intelligence, which speaks most clearly when the world is silent. The hours of darkness are not meant for waste. They are the womb of creation. The ideas that change lives are born there, in that quiet interval when you are nearest to the divine. The mind at dawn is a clean field. The previous day's noise has not yet sown its weeds. In that pure soil, your first thought takes root with commanding power. The man who fills it with purpose builds momentum that carries through the day. The man who fills it with distraction poisons his hours before they have begun. Energy follows the first definite thought of the day. Say to yourself, I rise before the world and therefore command it. These words are not poetry. They are law. The world does not answer wishers. It answers commanders. The one who wakes early declares mastery over self, and through self, mastery over circumstance. Each morning he rewrites the direction of destiny while the rest still dream of change. Late rising is not tiredness of the body, it is fatigue of the will. The bed becomes the throne of the defeated spirit. Every time a man chooses comfort over command, he weakens the fibers of initiative. Each minute spent in hesitation feeds the habit of delay. The man who sleeps through dawn trains his mind to drift. The man who rises early trains it to decide. Consider this. Every battle of history, every invention that shaped civilization, every movement that altered the course of nations, all were conceived in solitude, in stillness, in hours when others rested. Edison, walking alone through the darkness, was not escaping the world. He was organizing it. Rockefeller, reflecting before the markets opened, was not avoiding men. He was preparing to direct them. There is a law I call the law of early command. It states that whatever you decide before the world awakens will dictate how the world responds to you. The universe begins each day neutral, waiting to take its cue from the one who gives the first order. If that order is fear, you meet obstacles. If that order is faith, you meet cooperation. The world mirrors your earliest thought. The tragedy of the modern man is not that he lacks time, but that he misuses it. He begins the day already behind, reacting to forces set in motion by others. He rushes, not because the day is short, but because he never claimed its beginning. The man who rises early becomes the cause of his world. The man who sleeps late remains its effect. Imagine two men living in the same city, breathing the same air with equal opportunity. One rises before dawn, still and deliberate. The other sleeps until the sun accuses him of sloth. Within 90 days, the difference between them is visible to all. One commands respect. The other pleads for relief. Their destinies diverged in the quiet hour when one acted and the other delayed. Say again, the silence before dawn obeys my direction. This is not arrogance, it is discipline. It is the recognition that your first thought sets the magnetic tone for all that follows. When the morning begins with complaint, the hours echo confusion. When it begins with decision, the hours align with order. The late riser enters life like an actor arriving after the curtain is lifted, forced to improvise among lines already written. The early riser writes his script in solitude, so that when the crowd awakens, he performs with certainty. He has rehearsed success before others have stretched their limbs. There is an altar at dawn, invisible but eternal, upon which the strong man places his intention. To rise early is to kneel before that altar and say, "My purpose outranks my comfort." That declaration alone separates mediocrity from mastery. The weak ask for ease, the wise ask for order. The science of vibration explains this secret. When the mind awakens uncluttered, its frequency rises above the noise of the world. Thoughts emitted in that silence travel farther, attract faster, and return multiplied. Infinite intelligence listens keenly at dawn, for few speak then. Those who do are rewarded with ideas that others later call inspiration. Look upon Henry Ford, who began each day before his workers stirred. He did not rush to his factories. He first quieted his thought, planned his designs, and spoke silently with the infinite. That is why his machinery seemed to move with life itself. It mirrored the order of his mind. Observe Thomas Edison, whose long nights of study often ended in early morning reflection. The stillness sharpened his imagination until he could hear the whisper of possibilities others missed. And Rockefeller, beginning each day not with greed but with reflection, reviewing the principle of efficiency. His fortune grew because his mornings were organized before markets ever opened. Those who begin the day in solitude appear calm, unhurried, decisive. Others sense their invisible preparation and call it luck. But luck is only the shadow cast by discipline. The prepared mind seems fortunate because it meets opportunity at the precise moment when others are still dressing confusion as activity. To master the morning is to master time itself. Time is not an enemy. It is a servant awaiting command. The early riser bends it to purpose. The late sleeper bends beneath its weight. A man's relationship with time mirrors his relationship with self. The undisciplined feel oppressed by it. The disciplined rule it like an empire. The first 30 minutes after waking are the governors of the next 16 hours. In those minutes, you either build power or dissipate it. Begin them with gratitude and intention, and the world aligns. Begin them with distraction, and the day scatters into fragments. Choose wisely, for habit, once fixed, becomes law. When you rise early, your willpower is at its purest. Decision is easier before the mind is crowded by the opinions of others. The first victory of the day is not over circumstance, but over self. To win that battle is to begin the day undefeated. Say within yourself, "My first thought of purpose orders every event that follows." Let it become the quiet drum that directs your steps. The body obeys belief, the day obeys decision, and the world obeys law. Each morning as you rise, understand that you are not merely waking. You are entering covenant with power. The infinite meets you halfway. The silence you hear before dawn is not emptiness. It is attention. It listens for command. The mind that speaks with faith receives guidance. The one that hesitates receives confusion. To wake early is to respect yourself enough to prepare for greatness. It is to say to the universe, "I will not drift into my day like a leaf upon the stream. I will steer. The difference is subtle but absolute." Drifting minds are carried, definite minds carry others. In the beginning, the practice may feel unnatural. You will battle habit, the inertia of years spent in comfort, but persist, for repetition engraves new order into the subconscious. Each morning will become easier, then instinctive, then sacred. Others will notice before you do. They will comment on your calm, your clarity, your speed of decision. They will ask your secret. Smile and say little. For the silent hour is a covenant between you and law. It needs no advertisement. In the end, understand this: those who master the morning no longer chase time. Time begins to chase them. Their schedules expand, their influence grows, their opportunities multiply, not because they work harder, but because they begin earlier, with definiteness. The man who greets the dawn with gratitude greets prosperity itself. Each sunrise becomes an invitation to creation. Each early hour becomes an anchor of faith. Each morning conquered becomes another brick in the invisible architecture of destiny. When you rise before 5, you are no longer a servant to chance. You are a partner with infinite intelligence. You are the author of order in a world that sleeps through its potential. The law is simple, the reward profound. Claim the hour, and the hour will claim the day. And so let these affirmations guide you as law. I rise before the world and therefore command it. The silence before dawn obeys my direction. My first thought of purpose orders every event that follows. Repeat them until they become reality. Speak them until even the air around you learns your rhythm. For time itself, though unseen, bends to the will of the man who greets it first. He who commands the morning commands life. For time, my friend, was never meant to govern the prepared man. It was meant to serve him. And now, as you rise tomorrow, you will know this truth, that the secret hour of dominion was never about the clock at all, but about consciousness. The one who awakens first awakens to greatness. Silence is the workshop of the mind. It is the anvil upon which the hammer of thought strikes until decision is forged into form. The man who has not learned to sit alone with his own mind will never command the minds of others. Solitude, properly understood, is not escape. It is empowerment. It is the invisible rehearsal of mastery. The world fears silence because silence reveals truth. Most men cannot bear to hear their own thoughts echo back through stillness. They drown that voice with noise, chatter, and motion. But those who rise early and enter quiet willingly find what others flee from: the voice of infinite intelligence speaking through intuition. There is a distinction few ever learn. Loneliness drains, solitude renews. Loneliness is absence of connection. Solitude is presence of purpose. The early hour before the world stirs is not emptiness. It is pure potential. Within it lies the entire blueprint of the day, waiting to be drawn by a deliberate hand. When I speak of the law of inner equipment, I mean this: no man can attract opportunity for which he has not been mentally prepared. You may encounter riches, but if your mind has not built a system to manage them, they will flee as quickly as they arrived. The quiet hour before dawn is when preparation becomes capacity, when thought molds form before the material ever appears. Edison knew this. He would isolate himself for hours, wandering in silence until an idea took shape. His companions mistook his absence for eccentricity, not knowing that silence was his laboratory. It was in those silent hours that light, sound, and motion began their transformation into inventions that served mankind. Abraham Lincoln, before addressing a divided nation, would sit in stillness, writing and rewriting words until they carried both power and compassion. His calm did not come from luck. It was the fruit of long reflection. He met the storm in his own heart before facing the one in the nation. Rockefeller began his mornings the same way, reviewing the principle of efficiency. While his competitors rushed to open their ledgers, he opened his mind to order. This habit turned chaos into calculation, impulse into empire. The great see what others miss because they prepare in silence before others awaken. In solitude, a man rediscovers his authority. The noise of the crowd fractures thought. Silence gathers it. There he hears not only ideas, but instruction. Infinite intelligence whispers direction to those who have stilled the clamor of fear long enough to listen. Say quietly to yourself, "In silence I become strong." These words align you with law. For in the early hour, every distraction is asleep. The world has not yet begun to demand, to argue, to tempt. You alone stand between thought and creation. This hour is not idleness, it is alignment. To prepare the mind is to build the scaffolding upon which achievement will later stand. The world celebrates the finished tower, but never sees the silent blueprints drawn in solitude. Those blueprints are made before dawn, when the architect is alone with his plan. To practice this law, you must learn what I call mental dressing. Just as you would not leave your home disheveled, you must not enter the day mentally unprepared. Each morning, before engaging the world, order your thoughts. Ask yourself, what do I desire? What single act will move me toward that goal? What state of mind will I maintain regardless of events? This mental preparation is not optional. It is essential. For when confusion meets decision, confusion prevails unless decision has been rehearsed in solitude. The mind that has been organized before dawn does not yield to pressure. It dictates to it. You will notice how quickly the habit strengthens your confidence. The act of meeting yourself daily at the same hour builds loyalty between conscious and subconscious. The subconscious begins to expect direction. It awaits command. When you speak your plans in that quiet hour, they are recorded as orders, not suggestions. Say again, I do not run to the day. I invite it into my order. This affirmation reclaims dominion. You cease to be a follower of circumstances and become their architect. The crowd will call your discipline extreme. They will say, rest, you have earned it, or you can plan later. Do not listen. Their advice is the language of drift. Men who surrender mornings also surrender meaning. They confuse comfort with peace. True peace is found in direction, not indulgence. If you persist, the rewards will not delay. You will notice your thoughts growing sharper, your speech slower, your judgment surer. When others hesitate, you will act. When others panic, you will think. They will call it instinct. You will know it as preparation. In solitude, you will find not only ideas, but courage. Courage grows in quiet because it is born from conviction, not noise. Fear thrives on movement. Faith thrives on stillness. When you sit calmly with your plans, your spirit learns that no external force can shake the man who governs his own state. Remember that true preparation is invisible. The world sees only performance. It never sees the hours of silent mastery that preceded it. But infinite intelligence witnesses both and rewards in proportion to faithfulness. Lincoln once said, "Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I will spend the first 4 sharpening the axe." That is the principle of preparation. To sharpen the mind is to reduce friction before effort begins. The man who prepares in silence cuts through obstacles that exhaust others. The destruction of vision begins with distraction. Every sound, every trivial message, every idle conversation steals a fragment of your power. Protect the hour before dawn as you would your fortune. It is the only wealth that multiplies without cost. Infinite intelligence speaks most clearly when you are still. Do not fill that silence with words. fill it with awareness. Feel yourself surrounded by quiet power. Breathe slowly, knowing that each breath draws wisdom from the unseen. When you still the mind, ideas begin to form of their own accord. Say within, infinite intelligence speaks in stillness. I listen. This declaration transforms silence into dialogue. You will find that guidance arises not as thunder, but as a soft assurance, a feeling of direction so calm it seems self-evident. That is how the infinite communicates with those who have learned to be quiet. The crowd measures success by applause. The wise measure it by alignment. Applause fades, but alignment endures. When you begin each day in solitude, you build alignment so strong that even chaos cannot fracture it. Imagine the difference in two men. One rushes from sleep to noise, from noise to motion, and by noon is weary without knowing why. The other rises in silence, aligns his thought, and steps into the day as one who has already won. The first reacts, the second commands. Repetition builds confidence. Meet yourself daily at the same hour, and the mind begins to associate that time with creation. Ideas will come more easily. Energy will renew more swiftly. Peace will arrive before demand. The law rewards consistency more than brilliance. You will discover that silence is not emptiness. It is fullness unexpressed. It is a reservoir of potential. In the quiet, your ideas arrange themselves into order. When you speak after such preparation, your words carry the vibration of authority. Others will notice your transformation. They will not understand it. They will say, "You seem different," unable to identify the cause. What they sense is moral gravity, the aura of a man who has spoken privately with himself before speaking to the world. To build this authority, you must protect your solitude as sacred. Do not trade it for trivialities. It is better to lose a conversation than to lose your command of mind. It is better to disappoint others than to disappoint your purpose. This hour of preparation is not a luxury. It is the foundation of every empire of success. Every day that begins without it is a day begun on borrowed energy. Every day that begins with it is a day infused with power from its source. Picture solitude as standing before an infinite canvas. Each thought is a stroke of paint, each decision a line of form. In noise, your hand trembles. In quiet, it moves with grace. The finished masterpiece depends not on talent, but on stillness. The man who disciplines himself to prepare in silence will one day find that his very presence influences others. People will listen differently, defer instinctively, follow naturally. Authority, when genuine, is not demanded. It is radiated, and that radiation begins in the quiet hour of self-command. When you have learned this law, you will no longer fear being alone. You will cherish it. You will look forward to the dawn not as duty, but as renewal. The stillness will become your ally. You will crave its power as others crave distraction. Repeat daily these affirmations, not as wish, but as law. In silence, I become strong. I do not run to the day. I invite it into my order. Infinite intelligence speaks in stillness. I listen. Say them until silence becomes your friend, until solitude becomes your strategy, until discipline becomes your delight. The world belongs to those who have learned to prepare unseen. For every visible triumph, there are 1,000 silent mornings behind it. Protect them. For the hour you spend in stillness today will multiply into influence tomorrow. Thus I say to you, cherish solitude. It is not withdrawal, but investment. It is not emptiness, but origin. It is not escape, but encounter. Encounter with the part of you that infinite intelligence designed for dominion. Protect the first hour of the day as you would protect treasure. For that hour, multiplied by faith and repetition, will repay you in 10,000, in opportunity, in power, and in peace. He who prepares in silence will never again be ruled by noise. The hour before dawn is a sacred hour, but sacredness without purpose is waste. Power unused decays. The man who wakes early but drifts through thought has only shifted his idleness to a quieter place. It is not enough to awaken before the world. You must awaken to something. Energy without aim is noise. Energy with purpose is creation. The morning is not a gift, it is a responsibility. You are entrusted with its silence so that you may direct its power. Those who treat the early hour as leisure lose its treasure. Those who treat it as command gain mastery over the entire day. The mind, like an army, awaits instruction at dawn. If you do not issue orders, confusion leads it into battle unarmed. This is the law of morning command. Whatever thought governs your first hour will govern your results. A day begun in hesitation continues in uncertainty. A day begun in purpose continues in order. The difference between mastery and mediocrity is decided not by chance, but by what you think about before the sun rises. The 1% understand this law instinctively. They do not wait for motivation. They give it command. Before their competitors have opened their eyes, they have already decided what will be built, what will be improved, what must be conquered. That early decision becomes the foundation of their success. Every hour after merely obeys it. You must begin the morning by aligning thought with direction. The crowd begins with reaction, newspapers, noise, distraction. You will begin with silence, faith, and definiteness. You will sit quietly and speak aloud your purpose for the day. Write it, feel it, see it as finished. Do this not as ritual, but as order. Instruction to the subconscious that must obey. Say within yourself, my morning purpose orders the hours to follow. This affirmation transforms your first thought into law. You will find that as the day unfolds, events, people, and circumstances begin to align mysteriously with the vibration of that purpose. The world, though chaotic, is obedient to definite thought. Consider Henry Ford. He began each day not in the noise of his factories, but in the quiet of reflection. He would write or speak his intention before meeting his men. He gave his mind one direction, efficiency. Every design, every engine, every conversation bent toward that single purpose. It was no accident that his organization mirrored the order of his thought. Or consider Andrew Carnegie, who began his mornings reading his purpose aloud. He spoke to his subconscious until his goals became conviction. He treated thought as cause and effort as effect. By noon, he was not trying to succeed. He was executing what his mind had already accepted as certain. If you wish to direct the morning current, you must hold a definite chief aim each day. The mind cannot build multiple towers at once. One purpose, pursued persistently, gathers all mental energy into one blazing current. Scattered desires weaken, concentrated desire commands. The morning is your moment to aim that current with precision. Begin each dawn with gratitude. Gratitude is the key that opens the channel between you and infinite intelligence. It tells the unseen, I trust you. Gratitude transforms the vibration of thought from hunger to harmony, from lack to law. The grateful man becomes magnetic, for he moves in the assurance that all is well. Then follow gratitude with visualization. Picture your purpose as already complete. Feel its success until your nerves and muscles recognize it as truth. The subconscious mind cannot distinguish between imagined conviction and physical reality. It will begin immediately arranging the unseen toward fulfillment. Next, translate vision into direction. Ask, what single act today will move me closer to my purpose? Choose one, only one. Greatness is not built from scattered motion, but from concentrated effort. The man who completes one decisive act before noon will accomplish more in a month than the uncertain man will in a year. Say this quietly as you plan. Every act before noon strengthens my destiny. Let the words guide your motion. They remind you that early purpose builds momentum. Confidence is born from early victory. You will feel the power of completion. When you have already advanced your purpose before the world has begun its noise, you walk differently. You breathe more deeply. You carry the calm of one who has fulfilled law. People will sense it. They will trust your decisions, follow your lead, and call you lucky. But luck, as always, is law in disguise. Charles Schwab understood this rhythm. He used his morning reflection to focus his company's energy. Before his workers began their tasks, he had already determined the key decision that would define the day. That quiet hour produced harmony in an enterprise of thousands. Order at the top creates order below, and order begins in thought. The morning current is real. Thought, emotion, and faith combine to form the invisible current that propels the day. Most men scatter it by contradiction. Faith 1 minute, fear the next. But the man of purpose channels it into one direction until every event is drawn into alignment with his will. Do not mistake motion for command. Many rise early only to rush into unplanned action. They confuse urgency with efficiency. But power lies not in speed, but in precision. The arrow that strikes the target was drawn deliberately, not frantically. The first 30 minutes of your day must be deliberate thought before movement. Begin the habit of writing your aim each morning. Writing is crystallized thought. It impresses the subconscious more deeply than speech alone. Read it aloud slowly, not with strain, but with calm conviction. Let your voice carry the tone of inevitability. You are not begging, you are declaring. Say, my thought directs, my faith completes, my purpose commands. These words carry vibration. Repetition engraves that vibration upon your subconscious until it becomes automatic. Habit replaces struggle. The great mistake of the ordinary man is inconsistency. He sets goals in excitement but forgets them in fatigue. His days contradict each other. The man of mastery, however, repeats his command daily until thought becomes identity. Purpose ceases to be something he pursues. It becomes what he is. Faith strengthens with repetition. Each morning's declaration deepens conviction until the subconscious can no longer entertain doubt. You will notice that decisions come faster, energy lasts longer, and resistance weakens. You have built a mental rhythm. That rhythm is the heartbeat of success. Let us not forget, purpose demands discipline. You may rise early, you may speak faith, but without obedience to that faith through consistent action, you build castles in the air. Purpose must move. You must convert conviction into work. Set one clear task that affirms your faith by doing. If your goal is creation, write. If it is leadership, decide. If it is wealth, build. The act itself is your prayer in motion. It tells infinite intelligence, I believe. When you have completed that act, pause. Feel gratitude again. The moment of accomplishment, however small, charges your subconscious with evidence. It whispers, I can. Repetition of that whisper builds the identity of mastery. The early man does not beg for motivation. He manufactures it through order. He is not driven by emotion. He is moved by law. When fatigue comes, he recalls his purpose. When doubt whispers, he repeats his command. When failure visits, he thanks it for instruction and continues. Those who live without early purpose are like ships without compass. tossed by winds, steered by the tides of other men's decisions. But the one who claims his purpose at dawn becomes a navigator of life. He decides direction, sets sail, and commands the sea. You will notice how others respond to your growing clarity. They will defer to your word. They will bring you ideas, cooperation, resources. People naturally follow the one who knows where he is going. Your inner order radiates outward as leadership. Do not waste the early hour with trivial ambition. Ask for no small goal. Infinite intelligence responds to the size of your faith, not the comfort of your caution. Dream boldly, speak decisively, act deliberately. These are the three movements of creation. When doubt visits, and it will, return to your morning ritual. Read your purpose aloud, feel it again, see it again, speak it as though it were done. This repetition does not tire the mind, it trains it. Law rewards persistence. Understand that the world outside cannot resist a man whose inner purpose is definite. Circumstance may delay him, but it cannot deny him. The currents of life, no matter how turbulent, must eventually align with the steady will. You will find joy in this practice. The discipline that once felt demanding will become desire. You will crave that hour of alignment. You will begin to rise not from duty, but from longing, the longing to meet infinite intelligence again in the quiet and receive your daily instruction. Your results will multiply, not by luck, but by law. A mind that begins each day in order naturally attracts order. A life that begins each morning in faith naturally attracts faith. Others will say, everything works out for him. They will not understand that it always worked out because it was decided at dawn. Say once more, with certainty, my morning purpose orders the hours to follow. Every act before noon strengthens my destiny. My thought directs, my faith completes, my purpose commands. Repeat until the words are no longer phrases but truth, for repetition is not mere habit. It is the hammer striking the same point until steel bends. The early mind is the river's source. If it flows with direction, all that follows will move toward prosperity. If it flows with confusion, the river floods with waste. Guard the source, and life itself becomes obedient to your will. Remember this, the man who commands his morning commands his fate. Purpose declared at dawn becomes providence fulfilled by dusk. He who begins with faith ends with fact. To rise early is to live deliberately. To plan early is to move divinely. To act early is to demonstrate mastery. And so I say to you, tomorrow, when darkness still lingers and silence waits, rise. Speak your purpose aloud. Direct the current. Let the world follow your lead. For once you have learned to guide the morning, you will never again drift through the day. There is a law older than man, written not on parchment, but in the rhythm of the earth itself. Renewal begins at dawn. Each sunrise is the universe's declaration that life continues, that energy replenishes itself through order. When you rise early, you align your being with that rhythm. You do not borrow energy from the day. You draw it directly from the source that animates all life. The man who rises late awakens to a world already in motion. His thoughts chase events. His nerves absorb confusion. But the man who greets the dawn enters a world still clean, untouched by human agitation. He receives the first current of vitality while it is pure. That current, once claimed, sustains him beyond fatigue, beyond distraction, beyond doubt. I call this the law of regeneration. It states that the energy you give to purpose multiplies, while the energy you give to idleness decays. The body and mind are not engines of metal. They are instruments of spirit. When the will directs them through law, they renew themselves. When neglected, they wither through misuse. The early hour is the time appointed by infinite intelligence for renewal. You have been taught to believe that fatigue is physical, that tiredness comes from labor alone. This is false. True fatigue is moral. It is born of indecision, resentment, and disorder. The man who rises early with clear intention finds himself invigorated, even on little rest, because his spirit moves in harmony with his plan. The man who sleeps long yet wakes aimless feels exhausted before he begins. Say within yourself, I rise with strength because I rise with purpose. These words contain truth beyond philosophy, for energy follows faith. When you believe your rising has meaning, the body obeys. When you see no purpose, the body reflects that confusion. The cells themselves take instruction from the mind. That is why a definite plan renews vitality. The rhythm of nature has always rewarded the early. The birds sing not from habit, but from law. Their music heralds balance restored between darkness and light. The plants open to the first rays of morning because they know instinctively that life's nourishment is most abundant then. Man, too, was designed to greet the dawn. In doing so, he awakens his higher faculties. George Washington understood this law. Long before battle or council, he rode out in the early morning alone. His soldiers often saw his silhouette against the mist, motionless upon his horse, absorbed in thought. He was not seeking scenery. He was synchronizing with power. The still air of morning sharpened his mind, restored courage, and steadied command. Thomas Edison, whose nights blurred into mornings, found that his greatest ideas arrived not in frenzy, but in calm intervals, when the body was quiet and the mind receptive. The early hours, he said, carried the clear light of order. It was not mere metaphor. He had discovered the universal fact that silence renews. Henry Ford, too, began his days with long walks before the world stirred. In that quiet time, he connected observation with inspiration. The patterns of motion in nature became blueprints for mechanical design. The early hour made his mind porous to suggestion, his intuition quick, his imagination fertile. The man who rises early trains his nervous system to obedience. The first act of the day, to leave the comfort of sleep and step into the chill of discipline, is a message to the subconscious, I command. Each morning repeated strengthens this authority. Soon the body ceases to resist, it anticipates. Discipline becomes pleasure, and purpose becomes instinct. The law of regeneration teaches that the spirit renews itself through order. Disorder exhausts more quickly than labor. The man who lives in confusion spends his energy patching leaks in thought. The man of order directs his current efficiently. Every movement serves purpose. Early rising gives him the space to order his day before noise drains his strength. Say again, energy flows through obedience to law. Let that truth settle into your mind. The more aligned your thoughts are with definite purpose, the more vitality you feel. Chaos dissipates power because it disperses attention. Order multiplies power because it concentrates attention. The difference between fatigue and endurance is direction. You may ask, Budadi, but does the body not require rest? Indeed, it does. Yet rest is not measured in hours, but in harmony. When the mind is aligned with purpose, rest deepens. When it is restless with worry, 10 hours of sleep cannot restore it. The man of discipline sleeps fewer hours, but wakes renewed because his conscience is clear and his aim is definite. Consider how breath itself mirrors the rhythm of creation. Inhale, creation. Exhale, release. Each dawn invites you to breathe deeply, to draw strength from the infinite. The act is simple, yet profound. Conscious breathing in the early hour harmonizes body and spirit. It calms the nervous system, centers the mind, and prepares the vessel for inspiration. The early hour also sharpens intuition. The subconscious active during rest brings forth impressions and insights at dawn. When you rise immediately, before distraction pollutes thought, you receive these messages clearly. If you linger in sleep or rush into noise, you lose them. Some of the greatest discoveries in history were morning revelations recorded before breakfast. I say to you, my morning strength is the proof of my inner order. Feel those words as law. They remind you that vitality is not accident, but alignment. You do not find energy. You generate it by moving in rhythm with the natural order of life. Watch the man who rises early for 90 days with discipline. His eyes brighten, his posture straightens, his voice carries new resonance. His energy is not frantic, but steady. Others feel his presence before he speaks. That is the aura of obedience, the magnetic field of one whose inner life is synchronized with law. You will begin to notice that when you rise early, ideas come more easily. Problems seem smaller. Decisions form themselves without strain. Why? Because your subconscious has worked through the night on your behalf. When you awaken, those solutions are ready to be received. This is the mind's hidden machinery. The early hour is when you collect its output. There is also a spiritual exchange at dawn. The infinite whispers in the language of intuition. Gratitude is the response that opens the ear. Before any plan, before any motion, give thanks. Say quietly, I am grateful for the order of this day. I am grateful for the chance to grow. Gratitude tunes your vibration to receive greater ideas. Complaint blocks them. When the world finally awakens, you will already be in rhythm with success. Others will scramble to catch up, but you will move serenely, as though guided. They will say, you seem tireless. You will smile, knowing that energy flows not from caffeine, but from conviction. The man who lives by law draws strength directly from the infinite source. Fatigue fades when enthusiasm directs the body. Have you not noticed that when you are excited about a project, you can labor for hours without strain? That is spiritual energy overriding physical limitation. The early hour, infused with definite purpose, summons that same current each day. You must also understand the moral aspect of vitality. Laziness is not a lack of energy, but a misuse of will. When the mind hesitates, the body grows dull. The early riser, decisive in action, quickens his blood through purpose. His moral certainty becomes physical vigor. The doubter drains himself through hesitation before he has even begun. The more you practice early rising, the more your body will obey your mind. It will awaken on command, energized and alert. You will need less external stimulation. Your energy will become self-generated because your thought is disciplined. That is the miracle of law. Obedience replaces effort. Say it often. I rise with strength because I rise with purpose. Let it become your covenant, for it is not the hour itself that empowers you. It is the intention with which you meet it. The farmer who wakes early to complain harvests little. The one who rises in gratitude harvests plenty. You will also notice an increase in physical confidence. The man who disciplines his mornings carries himself differently. His step is measured, his gaze steady, his tone composed. Others sense in him a quiet vitality that commands attention. Without words, he announces, I am prepared. And life, ever obedient to confidence, bows to preparation. When you walk through the world in such rhythm, opportunity feels drawn to you. Strangers treat you with deference. Allies offer assistance. The magnetic quality of faith expresses itself through your very posture. The early hour has renewed not only your strength, but your spirit. Do not treat this law as an experiment to be tried and abandoned. Treat it as covenant. The body may resist at first, but resistance is proof of weakness leaving habit. Each victory before dawn strengthens faith. Each morning of obedience engraves confidence upon your soul. Say also, energy flows through obedience to law. This sentence is seed. Plant it each morning in the soil of silence. Water it with gratitude. Within weeks, it will bear fruit in clarity, calm, and power. The transformation will not go unnoticed. Others will begin to speak differently to you. They will feel your steadiness. They will say, "You seem more alive, more certain." What they feel is order. The rhythm of the law radiates through those who obey it. The physical renewal that comes with early rising is only the beginning. Its deeper gift is faith, the sense that you are carried by a higher current. The world may rush and strain, but you will move as though guided by unseen hands, for indeed you will be. And when doubt returns, as it does to every man, you will have your morning discipline to remind you of truth. You will remember that you have already conquered the hardest part of the day, yourself. That victory will give you confidence for every other. Thus, the early hour becomes your daily resurrection, proof that energy is infinite when aligned with order. You will no longer speak of fatigue, but of flow, no longer of duty, but of devotion. For what began as effort will become joy. In this way, waking early ceases to be habit and becomes harmony. You no longer force yourself to rise. You want to rise, for dawn becomes your ally. It greets you with clarity, fills you with energy, and reminds you that infinite intelligence never sleeps. It merely waits for you to awaken. So let your first breath at dawn be gratitude, your first thought be purpose, and your first act be obedience. These three together, gratitude, purpose, obedience, are the formula of regeneration. Repeat as law, I rise with strength because I rise with purpose. Energy flows through obedience to law. My morning strength is the proof of my inner order, for when these truths are engraved upon your heart, the body will follow, the mind will align, and life will answer with abundance. The dawn, my friend, does not merely begin the day. It begins creation anew. And the man who learns to move in harmony with it will never again feel weary, lost, or behind. For he has found the source from which all energy, all confidence, and all prosperity flow, the still, sacred energy of morning. There comes a point in every man's pursuit of mastery when discipline becomes delight, when what was once practiced with strain is now performed with ease. It is then that he ceases to merely rise early and begins to live from the consciousness of victory. He no longer seeks proof that success will come. He knows it already has. That is the morning law of dominion, the law that governs all who have learned to rule themselves before dawn. This law is simple yet profound. Each man must establish mental rule over his day before others claim it. The world will always attempt to seize your attention, to fill your thoughts with noise and urgency, to make you react instead of create. Dominion means reclaiming authority over that first hour so that everything thereafter must obey your inner order. To live as one who has already won is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is obedience to the truth that infinite intelligence responds only to definiteness. The man who doubts his own success builds obstacles where none exist. The man who acts as though his triumph is already assured attracts the conditions that make it inevitable. Life bends to confidence. Say within yourself, order within me commands order without. This is not poetry, it is physics of spirit. The vibrations of your mind arrange the matter of your world. Confusion within produces chaos without. Calm within creates harmony without. That is why the 1% appear so composed. Their inner world is disciplined, their mornings governed by law, and their outer life merely reflects it. Consider Abraham Lincoln. Before addressing a divided nation, he would spend the earliest hours alone in silent reflection, shaping his words until they carried both justice and mercy. By the time he faced his advisors or enemies, his decision was already made within. He did not hope for peace. He embodied it. That is dominion, to meet the world already resolved. To master the morning is to master the mind, and to master the mind is to master destiny. Each day you rise early. You are training your subconscious to serve rather than rule. At first, this training feels difficult, but as repetition engraves habit, the subconscious begins to anticipate your purpose. It prepares energy before you awaken. You will find ideas waiting for you, as if infinite intelligence had worked the night on your behalf. Say this as you rise: I am master of the morning, therefore master of the day. Let it remind you that the first thought of the day is the seed of power. Whatever grows from it must match its nature. Begin with confusion, and you will reap confusion. Begin with gratitude, purpose, and faith, and the harvest will be in the same likeness. The law of dominion demands consistency. Power is rhythm, not effort. The river carves valleys not by violence, but by steady movement. So too does mastery shape your character, not in bursts of enthusiasm, but in daily repetition of command. Every morning that you meet your purpose renews faith. Every repetition engraves certainty. The man who obeys this law no longer depends on willpower. He depends on rhythm. Henry Ford lived by rhythm. He was not the most educated man of his generation, nor the wealthiest when he began, but he understood that order creates strength. His days moved like machinery, not rigidly, but with precision. Each morning he reviewed his plans, refined his processes, and reaffirmed his chief aim. That quiet consistency turned one factory into an empire and one idea into an industry. The same principle governs your life. You need not force greatness. You need only become orderly enough to receive it. Infinite intelligence works through organized minds. The disorganized repel opportunity by confusion. The orderly attract it by harmony. The universe seeks efficiency, and a man who has mastered his morning becomes a living instrument of that efficiency. Say it again. I rise in rhythm with law, for the man who rises in rhythm cannot fail. Each morning he awakens, not as one uncertain of outcome, but as one participating in inevitability. His purpose has momentum. His faith has memory. Success becomes not a goal, but a pattern, a daily performance of what he already believes to be true. John D. Rockefeller exemplified this composure. Through crises, collapses, and criticism, his calm never wavered. His secret was order, a life governed by routine. Each morning he wrote notes to himself, affirming control, planning his course, reviewing gratitude. He lived by inner law, and outer fortune obeyed him as naturally as gravity. Understand that the repetition of discipline builds self-respect. Each morning you keep your promise to rise, you confirm to your own soul that your word is law. The man who keeps his word to himself becomes immovable. No criticism can dislodge him. No temptation can seduce him. His self-trust radiates authority, and the world feels it before he speaks. Those around you will sense the transformation. They will begin to rely on your calm. They will defer to your timing. They will seek your opinion. They will feel your steadiness as one feels the presence of a mountain. You will not need to demand respect. It will come unbidden, drawn by the gravity of your discipline. Dominion is not loud. It does not argue or prove. It simply is. A man of dominion walks into a room and changes the temperature without a word. His calm disarms hostility. His certainty neutralizes doubt. Such influence cannot be faked. It is earned through countless mornings of invisible mastery. The law of dominion also teaches gratitude as the guardian of power. Gratitude seals faith. It reminds the mind that abundance is not something to chase, but something to acknowledge. When you begin each morning thanking infinite intelligence for opportunities already on their way, you align yourself with certainty. The grateful man is magnetic because he expects good and therefore invites it. Say quietly, I am grateful, therefore I am strong. Gratitude is not weakness. It is acknowledgement of partnership with the infinite. It shifts your vibration from need to command. You cease to say, I wish things would improve, and begin to say, I see that all things are improving. That shift in perspective rearranges conditions faster than force. After 90 days of this practice, you will find that waking early no longer feels like effort. The mind has accepted it as identity. You are no longer a man trying to master mornings. You are the master who rises naturally, without resistance. Habit has become nature. Nature has become law. When that moment arrives, you will see evidence everywhere. Opportunities will meet you without struggle. People will appear at the right time. Circumstances will align so perfectly that others will call it coincidence. But you will recognize it as the reflection of your internal order. Dominion has made your inner world and outer world one. You will also notice that the same rhythm governs your relationships, your work, and even your health. The steadiness of your mornings creates steadiness in your dealings. You become reliable, and reliability is the highest form of wealth. Men who waver lose trust. Men who keep rhythm gain influence. True freedom is not the liberty to do as one pleases, but the power to do what one has chosen. The man of dominion no longer seeks to escape responsibility, he welcomes it. He sees each duty as an extension of his purpose. His mornings have taught him that law is not restriction, but structure, not burden, but blessing. Say to yourself as the sun rises, I am not ruled by the day, I rule the day. My purpose dictates my time, my order governs my outcomes. Speak it until you feel its truth. For repetition, once again, engraves identity. Those who live without rhythm live without peace. They are tossed by emotion, carried by rumor, bound by reaction. But the man who rises by order lives by faith, walks in calm, and acts from vision. He does not chase life. Life moves toward him. Remember Andrew Carnegie's final lesson to his young executives: do one thing supremely well, and the world will make a path to your door. Dominion follows the same rule. Master 1 hour, the first, and all other hours will organize themselves around it. When habit becomes harmony, time itself seems to serve you. You no longer feel hurried. Everything arrives on schedule because your schedule mirrors the law of the universe. Order, purpose, gratitude, repetition. These are the 4 pillars of dominion. At night, as the world grows still, review your day with calm reflection. Ask, did I keep order? Did I maintain gratitude? Did I live from the consciousness of victory? Then plan your next dawn as if setting a sacred appointment. For the man who meets himself faithfully each morning will never again doubt his path. And when you awaken, even before you open your eyes, breathe deeply and say, I rise before the world, and the world rises to meet me. The law of order governs my mind. I am calm, certain, and directed. Everything I touch before dawn expands in daylight. I am of the 1%, for I command the morning, and the morning commands success. Repeat until your voice carries the tone of inevitability. Let these words replace fear, erase doubt, and invite the full current of power that belongs to the disciplined soul. You will know you have mastered the morning law of dominion when the thought of sleeping late feels like betrayal, when you rise not from obligation but from joy. You will know it when the world feels slower, kinder, more responsive, because your spirit moves ahead of it, shaping its rhythm. Others will wonder at your peace. They will ask how you manage to remain composed while others panic, how you seem to attract results without strain. You will smile quietly, for you will know that they are seeing the fruits of invisible mornings. Hours when you met infinite intelligence in silence and received your marching orders for the day. The world rewards visible effort, but it obeys invisible order. Your success will seem effortless because it flows from inner command. You no longer force, you allow. You no longer struggle, you synchronize. That is the secret the 1% live by and the 99% ignore. That law, not luck, decides destiny. Continue to rise, continue to command, continue to give thanks. For repetition sustains momentum, and gratitude multiplies it. The man who thanks life each morning for order will find his affairs increasingly orderly. The man who thanks infinite intelligence for wealth will find that wealth gravitates to him through channels unseen. Each morning, therefore, is both declaration and decree. Declare who you are. Decree what will be. Speak your identity into being before the sun touches the horizon. The universe listens most closely before the world awakens, and when you step into the light, do so as one who has already triumphed. Walk slowly, speak calmly, decide firmly. For faith that is embodied becomes visible as power. The truly successful man is not frantic. He is fulfilled. Thus ends the cycle, from awakening to command to creation to dominion. You began by conquering sleep, and you end by conquering circumstance. Each dawn becomes your ally, each day your servant, each result your reflection. Remember, this is no ritual of hours. It is a rhythm of identity. To rise early is to rise in consciousness. To command the morning is to command life. To live as one who has already won is to prove faith by posture, gratitude by peace, and mastery by stillness. So tomorrow, and every tomorrow that follows, rise not merely to begin the day, but to renew your dominion. Greet the darkness as friend, the silence as teacher, the light as confirmation. For you now know the truth that has guided every man of greatness before you. He who rules the morning rules the day. He who rules the day rules the life. And he who rules the life has become one with law itself.